Hello there guys, it's been a while since we did an upload, but now we're back with a video, and I want to explain something real quick. So I want to explain the difference between a data component and a data repeater. So it will be something that you would really like before going on with the other projects, so that you can know what a data repeater and a component is. So this is the data repeater here, and I'll show you what I mean. So let's use an example, basically like something I've already done. So I'm just going to remove these and remove these again. So I have a custom endpoint here, and this custom endpoint is getting data from this table called SLS. So my SLS table is this is my SLS table here. This has date, task name. So if I come here and I go to my SLS table, it has some data in there, which is basically the date and the task name. So you see I have 3 records. So I want to display these records in my front end using the data repeater. So the reason why I like using the data repeater mostly is you realize RAS system doesn't have the option to do random. So maybe, for example, if I'm working on a blog, RAS system doesn't give me the option to randomize the blogs unless I come here and I create a custom view. But I don't want to create a custom view, so instead I want to use a custom endpoint. So what I do is I come to this get task, and you're going to say select from SLS order, and I want to order them by random. So this is how you order data randomly from the database. Okay, so here you go. Let me just get rid of this, I don't need it here. So SLS order by random. Good. So let me just publish that, so it will be generating the background. So now if I go to this page here, I want to take a data component. So the data component basically returns one record. So this will be important if you're trying to do a count of the record. So maybe here you're doing a count like that. So this will return just one number. So you just return one number as a count, but we don't want that. So this is a good situation where you would need a data component maybe. So if I go back to my data component, you realize I have this data query data source. So optionally, you can just write your SQL here instead of writing it in the custom endpoint. But if you want to do it in the custom endpoint, that means maybe you want to do some customization, you want to return some values, anything like that. But in my case, I just want to use my custom endpoint, the one I just created. So I'm going to select that SLS get task. You notice that SLS get task is this one that we have created here. Good. So with this done, now the other things, just you setting up some stuff here if you really want. And now if I click on publish my project, we should be able to see what we want. All right, so let's go back here. So this generally will give us back some data. So this one, you see, it's giving us just one record. So the data component just basically gives us one record. Now let's change that from data component, and now let's put the data repeater. So the data repeater, think of it as a list. Okay, so think of it as a list. So it lists down what you need to display. So this one is going to be pick our SQL, and now here we have the template. Now this is the template you'd edit to make it look appealing, or how you want it to look like. We'll look at that in a few minutes. So let's go ahead and publish this again. So once more, check the progress of the project, and there we go. So now this one should give us a list of the records. So now you see we have a list of the records. Now to design this, it gives you all the required processes that you need. Also, you notice that now we have them as 1, 2, 3. So if we try and reload it, we can see if it's going to be random. Now you see it's randomized now because we wrote that order by random SQL. So you can randomize it like that. Now to design this, you need to go to the project. Now here you go, I dragged my component in the home page. So I'm going to open my project in RAD systems in Sublime text. And then I'm going to go to my home page here, and you notice I have this code here. So it's starting here and it's ending here. So to design this, you just come inside here and make it look how you want it to be. So for example, you could come here, make these to be data, because you realize here we have the data. Now to access the data, because this is an object, so every time you need to access an object, you use a dot. So for example, let's say we only want to display the date, so you come here and you say data dot date. Alright, so if you go back to the project, you notice the change. So let's see what we get. Oh, there you go. So you get the date. Now to design the page, you just come here, maybe do some PG primary, something like that. Then you can have the data.date here. You copy this, put it down here, and say data.tsk. What's the name of it again? It's tsk name. Tsk name, something like that. So you save it, and now you can come back here and we try and see what we have. So there you go, we have these, we have these, we have this, then we have this option to load it here. So this will be the same thing you do basically in any run system product or basically package, in view, prime view, anything, all that stuff. So this will be the same thing throughout. So that's how you do the data component, data repeater. So I don't know if there is anything else we need to look at, but I think that's generally it. So yeah, you can play around with it, see if you get it to work, and that will be it. Now I think we have looked into everything that has been added, but now lastly we'll look at something that was added in the new version 7.0.7.1. So you have these components here and you have these code snippets here. So we'll look at it in general. So you have the code snippets that are available for you here. So every time you feel like you're stuck, you can just come here and go to API services. You get the code snippets in there. You have the user authentication, edit page, add page, view page, all this stuff. So this is something that you can use every time you need to do any custom code or other stuff. You notice now we don't have the data component or all that stuff. That's because when you import a component here, it gets imported automatically in RAS system, so you don't have to differentiate them differently. At the same time, you're using the composition API, which is basically allowing us to do some repos. So let me show you one more thing that you can use most of the times. So let's say, for example, you have an option where you would come here and you say, I want to get data from my component. Okay, so what you can do, let's remove this repeater. So the importance of the repeater is so that it can save you from doing a lot of code. So we come here and we write, we create a variable here. We say less. Okay, so we have not yet declared it, so let's go ahead and declare it. Go to custom page and say const less is equals to reference. So this basically means it's a reactive value. So now once we have declared that reactive value, we can come here to the code snippets, go to the API service, and we copy this get data. Okay, so you realize this one you're not putting it in methods or mounted or that stuff, you're putting it here. So what you're going to put in here is going to be the name of our endpoint. So let's go back to our custom endpoint. So our endpoint is SLS get tasks. Copy this, and then you're going to come here and put it in our code. So we're going to say get tasks. So we're going to put our get task, and now we can now add our value here. Now something is a little bit different. In the other version, we used to do this dot less, but now we are not using the data function. So instead, we are going to say less dot value. So every time you have a reactive value, you have to put the dot value to get its data. So you come here, say less, so less dot value is now going to be equal to the response. So this response, we have assigned it to this. All right, so now we can pull this data on a button click. So to pull it on a button click, we can come here and add a button. So you come here and say qbtn, and we put the click event is going to be equals to get data, because remember our function is called get data, qbtn, right? So this get data is going to be this variable function that we created here called the get data function. All right, so now every time you click on this button, it should populate the response here with the new data. So let's click on publish and see what we get. All right, so let's go back, and here we have the button, and once you click on the button, we should get some response coming back. But now it seems it's not coming back. So what you do is you come here and go to the inspect. In case you realize your code is not working the way you need it to work, you always come here and check the console. So come on top here, go to the console. Now you can click on the button again and see if you get any error. So you click on the button, see if you get any error. Yeah, it says it's an error. Response accessed during order but not. Okay. So to fix that, that basically means it's appearing here but not available in the custom JavaScript. So this has to be less like that. So you publish again. Alright, so you can go back to your console here just to confirm, then click on this again. Response. Reload. So it's getting our data from the response. So let's give it a try again. Alright, so we changed something, but we did not change it inside the function. So go to the function. You also need to make this response. So these are some of the small mistakes that really cost you a lot of time. So make sure you use the console every time you face an error. So we can now try again. So this one is definitely going to give us some data. So let's see. Alright, go back to the button, click on it. Rest is not defined. Okay, just reload it. So once your page has reloaded, now you can click on the button and we should get our data. So there we go. So we have our data as an array. Now you can iterate through it to get some response. So that is basically it. So in case of any questions, leave them in the comment section and we are going to answer them in time. So that will be it. See you in the next one.